Okay, so we've got a piece of copy from a new copywriter, someone who's just starting out on their journey, and they're asking for a little bit of honest feedback. Now, a little bit of inside baseball before we get started. This isn't the first time we've started recording this. Glenn was supposed to read this out loud, but for reasons that I still am unaware of, wasn't able to read it without corpsing, I guess.
Is that what it is? It's corpsing, isn't it? It's a strange phrase. But yeah, I for some reason I'm having a strange day and I couldn't get through it. Let's see if you can get through it, Nick.
So the context here is I'm going to read the copy aloud. I've never read this copy before. This is copy that Glenn could not give a straight face for. Now, I just want to say, any laughing that happens in the course of this is because I find it amusing that Glenn wasn't able to read this. It's not a assessment of the copy. That will come second. However, I am excited now to find out what on earth is in this piece of copy. So I'll read it out loud and I'll do my God's honest best. Okay, right. Absolute professional walks into a room, opens his computer and reads.
If you enjoy The Fix and want to get access to even more good stuff, join the Fix Accelerator today. Get access to special masterclasses from Nick and me, watch expert interviews with industry legends, join live copy feedback sessions every week, and get connected to our very own private copy network. Visit thefixaccelerator.com for more information.
Subject line, scared of fighting. It begins, hi Glenn, so you've never been in a fight before. Maybe you have, but you're scared. Don't worry, I am too, brackets, in fact, always have been. Even though I've been fighting my whole life, brackets, inside of the octagon and outside. That's why I'm about to reveal how to deal with the fear of fighting. Because you can deal with fear, but not solve it. Fear is just a feeling like any other. Happy, sad, joy, depressed, stressed, bored. These are all just feelings. These are all feelings just like fear. There's nothing I can say that will let you be fearless forever. But what I can tell you is a piece of advice that can calm your fear down. Calming yourself down during a fight is the most important thing a fighter can do. Here's the piece of advice I will give you, but it's not the solution. So if you're a man, you'll hear it. But if you're scared, you'll skip it to find something that will get rid of your fear quickly, which does not even exist. Here's the advice. You have to accept the fact that you will... Sorry. I did so well. Sorry.
This is why. Is the advice? It's the advice itself.
Don't bust my flow. Here's the advice. You have to accept the fact that you will die someday and make peace with death. Doesn't necessarily mean in a fight. It might be 100 years. It might be. Sorry. Right. Come on, everyone. Absolutely professionals. It might be 100 years from now when you're sitting in the chair and peacefully dying. Sorry. This is fantastic. Sorry. It might be 100 years from now when you're sitting in the chair and peacefully dying. Or it could be sorry. Or it could be a quick death. Like you might get into a car accident. Whatever might happen to you, just accept it. All the professional fighters that you see on TV have made a clear decision to accept death as part of their reality. Death is inevitable. And once you've made peace. Sorry. Right, I'm just going to stop there because I feel like it's going to become stupid. So
no, you need to keep going to at least the because then we'll get it. Then we'll learn why we're laughing because there is a key thing. But yeah,
I've got an important point I want to make at the end.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah, just go to the call to action. So we've got
Glenn, death is inevitable. And once you've made peace with death, fear will start to fade away. But I know it's easier said than done. You might even be confused as to how to make peace with death. It will take hours for me to explain how to do that. So I decided to record a 30-minute video on my YouTube channel about this topic. I'll go in depth and do deep analysis to calm your fear down. So if you have a fight coming up and you're getting a little bit scared as the fight day comes closer, I'd recommend clicking this link and getting access to the video instantly. Watch the video and make the most out of that video. Calm your fear down and good luck on your fight. Okay.
In modesty, do you want to you do your first analysis of why that is funny?
Okay, well, I'm going to start by saying why it isn't funny. So I just want to make clear. Okay, so there were things I'd never read that copy before, and part of the feedback that we give is honest feedback. So I'm not, we're not laughing at somebody. If we're laughing, it's just because something's made us laugh. So for whatever reason, this email made me laugh because it felt like, wow, there's a lot going on here. But before we come to ways of solving that, I just want to say I don't want that to come across as sneering at the writer or laughing at the writer, because what the person who's done this has done is taken a risk themselves, and they've put themselves out there. And let me tell you this, the one thing that I've learned in doing the fix is that most people aren't brave enough to put their copy out for review, even professional writers.
Oh, absolutely. I would echo that point. Also, I would echo the point that as we'll discuss, and I think it comes back to the actual copy and how we're doing. But what it actually does is it creates, I'm laughing because it's so powerful in the sense that it ramps up emotion, and it's such a hit in the face at these levels. And then the advice of death and all this kind of stuff, we're missing context. And that's why that's why it becomes comical in that respect, and it's this surprise that you're coming to. We'll come to that, but actually on the point of putting your copy in front of people, bravo. But more than that, we've said it many times, most people write the most staid, emotionless crap, and it's nowhere like it. To actually pump that into good copy is much harder than taking something that clearly hits emotions and is clearly an emotional punching thing, and then just toning that back down and putting stabilizers around it to actually make it better. So, but we'll get into it.
So I think that's an important caveat. So one, I'm not apologizing for laughing, because that was just my honest response, but I also don't want that laughter to be taken in the wrong way. However, okay, so what does an email like this have to do? Let's just step back, because I actually think there's lots of interesting stuff here. However, possibly it's conceived in a slightly muddled way. Okay, so this is probably a cold email of some sort. There isn't an existing relationship. Okay, and what we want them to do is watch our YouTube video. Okay, so let's just imagine that you're walking down the street and you have to stop a stranger and say, do you want to watch my YouTube video? Okay, that's what this piece of copy has to do. Stop them, engage them, get them to take action. That's all it has to do. Okay, pre-select them. That in the engagement phase, it's going to be like, are you interested in what I have to tell you? The reason that we found that so amusing in parts is because from that standing start, can I just stop you in the street? We get very quickly to, you have to accept the fact you will die someday and make peace with death, which is funny for somebody to come out and say before you're ready to hear it. It is, because the emotional pitch is so high, so early in the relationship, that it almost can't not be funny. It almost sounds like someone is slightly sort of untethered from their from reality.
It's really interesting to me. Obviously, we don't discuss this prior to speaking, but that is the exact reason I found it funny, was because I knew I'd happened to read this before, and I knew that as you hearing that copy,
yes,
would hear it as I did, as someone blind to it, as that like bar stool test of just turning to someone and going, hey, are you scared to fight? Yeah, you need to come to terms with your own death. It's like, that is a comically enlarged situation. So I knew as you would go through this and discover that, as I did, but that is exactly the same reaction or reason for the reaction. It's because, and I think this is a criticism of other copywriters, and good copywriters as well, but we forget so often, and we talk the talk all the time, but you forget that you're speaking to someone, a real person, in a real situation. Just because it's online, because it's email, that doesn't mean they're not a person. And if you went up to a normal person and said, "Oh, are you scared of fighting? Like, I've known fighters for ages," and you go, "Yeah, I am. Why?" And you go, "Well, I'll tell you what, one day you're going to die." And you go, "What?" You'd be like, "What? That's a bit shocking." And go, "You've got to come. It's too much. It's too, or there's ways to do it, but you need to." Actually, I self-edited there. I put in immediately a line saying, like, or the tone of putting context, and there's no context here. But I'm rushing ahead. But that's the same reason we both found it comical, in inverted commas. It's the emotional reaction of, we naturally, as copywriters, through our experience, will always think, if I went up to my granddad, to my friend, to my auntie, and started talking what I'm writing, what would their reaction be? And in this case, they'd think I'd slightly lost it.
Well, it's a good it underlines the point that reading your copy aloud, or I like to have somebody else who's never read my copy read it aloud to somebody else, so I'm not part of it. So I can't, which is exactly what's going on here, by the way, because that tells you, can they read it? Like, does it flow, and how does it land? Just imagine going up to somebody that you've never met before, that you're trying to build a relationship, and saying, "You might die 100 years from now sitting in the chair peacefully dying, or you might die in a car accident." It's going to be so I can't imagine saying that to anybody except as a joke. Now, how might you solve that? I would say, conceptually, if this video is going to be about dealing with fear of death in the ring, do we need to tell you that, the prospect, the clicker, do you need to know that prior to watching the video? No, is the answer. You're going to find that out in the video. So what if the copy read something like, "I used to be afraid of getting into the ring. I used to be afraid of fighting." Let's just assume that you're kind of this is a list that goes to people who are interested in fighting. Let's just say I gave 3 details. I used to feel sick beforehand, trembling knees, I don't know, bad guts, or whatever, however that would manifest. I used to feel like this, and it would really impair my ability to fight properly. But then I made a realization and a change to my mindset, and now I'm able to. And then you do the inverse of those bullets. I'm confident. I'm successful. I'm not scared to get in the ring. Today, I want to show you what I discovered and how I went on that journey. Click here and I'll tell you more about it. And then in the video, you can, because later on, 20 minutes into the video, maybe you've spent enough time with somebody to be like, really what this comes down to is fear of death. I realized I was scared of dying in the ring. Now, saying it in that context and with that build-up, there's nothing wrong with it. It's not the sentiment at all. It's where the sentiment has been placed in the development of the relationship.
Yeah, I would say you could still, there is even an argument for having it to, because that's basically the answer. Like, that's what you're doing, is revealing the answer, that you have to come to terms with these things, and that helps to eliminate your fear. So just from a marketing perspective, I wouldn't actually advise giving the answer in the closing the loop in the email, because will prevent me from having the need to click. So from a marketing perspective, the click can be, the answer is after the click. So
Glenn, can I interject? It's more than a marketing perspective. It's understand what the point of this message is to do. Is to get you to watch the video. So don't tell me the emotional punch and the high point, the sentiment in the video. Make me want to discover what that thing is. So it's just understand why you're writing to somebody.
True, yeah. And I guess I'm arguing the same point, in the sense that there might be something like the how, like, might be more in depth. So it might be you need to reveal the answer, i.e. you need to come over your fear of death. How do you do that? That might be in the video or what have you, but just wherever you draw the line. The point I'd make, though, is that before you can even do that, and you did it there, as I did it earlier on, you said in the ring and fear of fighting, and you connected those things. Here, we've got purely on a technical level, it only says the octagon at one point. So I leap there and go, right, okay, we're fighting in a UFC kind of vibe, what have you. But it's very passing, it's very quick, and it's not there, and it's even in brackets, the octagon bit. I think that's half of the problem with this, or half of my what if recommendation. What if you placed the person, the reader, the prospect in the place where these things taking place? Without that, it could be anything. I'm just contacting you to tell you about fighting in the fear of death. It's like, why? Like, as soon as you got to that YouTube channel, as soon as you started explaining that was what it's about, it's fine. After that, you read and go, all right, okay, I get it. So I think you just need that a literal use of words like, I used to be scared to go in the ring. I used to be scared to be fighting. I used to be scared. At the moment, it could be anything. It could be just fighting in the street and in the pub next door. And that's too vague, and that makes it seem silly and outlandish that you'd be talking about this to someone off the cuff. Whereas if you set the place and the whereabouts early on, that will allow you to do more of the talk of the explanation about, as we're saying, that there's an argument for whether you'd mention death and all that kind of stuff. That might be in the video. That's the reason to click through. But you might be able to reveal more and get more deep into the whys and wherefores. If I know where I am and I feel comfortable and in safe hands in that voice, and I know where I am, I know what I'm doing, then I can read on and do all that stuff. Because some of the lines, again, it's worth pointing out, some nice copy. There's some good things. We're hitting right notes and stuff like that. But because it's all out of context, it's like, what's going on? Like, why is this thing? So I think getting that context in it very early, you can do it subtly. I don't mean just like say, hi there, you can still get it in subtly, but you can't just trust that someone knows why you're writing to them immediately.
Yeah, you have to establish that. And I mean, if we were just like grading this in terms of copy, we might say the writing itself is reasonably strong. Lots of not a lot of art. So there's, it's talking to the reader about things that they might be interested in. So it kind of ticks some of those basic boxes, but I think it could just do with a step back. Who am I writing to? What am I trying to accomplish here? What's the easiest way of accomplishing that? I need to get people who are interested in boxing, mixed martial arts, fighting of some sort, to want to know more about the technique I use for overcoming my fear. That's what this is about. Okay, how do I do that? Now, so that's where it just needed, and a lot of, to sort of ground this in feedback that you would give to a junior writer, to somebody who's just starting out. That's quite a common thing that goes wrong, in that maybe they know some stuff, use talk about benefit, talk about something that's emotional, but you need to establish that clarity of like purpose. What does this do? Who's it for? Why should they be interested in? And then you use those techniques to solve those problems. Just one additional thing I'll say is, we want to use you a lot. We want to talk to the most important part of any communication is the person reading it, the you at the other end. However, when we start to put you into concept, write very personally about concepts like our prospects dying in a car accident, we have to be careful, because the same reason that makes that good copy on one level makes it strange in another. It's your life, the thing you care about. I'm talking to you about things that matter to you. Okay, good. I'm definitely interested in them. Now I want to talk to you about you dying in a car accident. You think, whoa, right, I don't really want to think about that. And it starts to become strange because it's like, it's too close to me. So
I would say that we see that in drink driving adverts and all that kind of stuff. You know, the ones where it's always like very you, and it's like your son's dead and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I'll hold my hands up. I don't know the stats for it, but I think most people just go, I don't really want to hear about that. It's too personal. I don't like it.
and I just
And
know
move away from it.
the most successful drink driving advert, I think, was friends don't let friends drink and drive, which is very clever, right? Because it says we're not one that drinks and drives. You're in the wrong by letting your friend do it. They're the bad guy. You're the good guy. You can be the hero of the story by stopping your friend drinking and driving.
Yeah.
And actually, that had a much bigger impact on the way people perceive drink driving, even in my lifetime, in terms of it not being cool to let your friend. It's okay. I'm walking home. He's driving home. No, it's on you. So that was a you.
Of course, that's why they
Focus.
that's why they had the driving crooner. You can get the driving crooner to come pick you up with his cigar and his hat. If no one knows what I'm talking about, I think it's called what is it? I think you should leave. There's the driving crooner. It's a wonderful sketch. Go and have a look.
Anyway, sorry, we've gone subject. So what I'd like to see, and I do want to reiterate, it's hard to write a piece of copy, put yourself out there in the world, and then have people review it, during which time they laugh at the copy, which I think, but that's part and parcel of the feedback, and we can't change that.
Also,
I also think that's what honest feedback sometimes looks like. It's a reaction.
Well, I think of one of our mentor students at the moment who has just secured work with a big financial publisher. The first time I ever read out his copy was at a boot camp in London, and I laughed at his work. I can't remember the detail of it.
His work made you laugh. Yeah.
His work made me laugh because actually, I think it was probably exactly the same thing, where it's like obscene personal detail of like, why would you suddenly be telling me that? Like, it's exactly the same thing. And it comes back down to what we both settled on, whereby it's that idea that if someone stops you in the street and started saying that email out loud to you, what would be your reaction? Like, would you think, are you okay? Sit down. What are you telling? Like, this is insane. Or would it be as though they're going, oh, do you know about the thing? Are you fed up with like doing that? You go, yeah, I am actually. You go, well, you fed up with this as well? You go, yeah, I am. Like, that would be a more natural way to do that kind of thing.
Coming out
Think
of
about
the gym and somebody said to you, would you be like, I used to be terrified of getting in the ring, and now I'm not. Do you want to know how I managed it? Maybe I will. So a certain amount of content. So I'd like to see this rewritten and sent back in with that little bit more clarity. Just keep in mind, if you're starting out, there's lots of advice out there on the internet about copywriting. Some of it's good, most of it isn't. Just keep in mind, who are you writing to? What do you want them to do? Okay, solve those problems. What do you say to them that piques their interest and gets them to engage with the subject matter at hand, gets them to do what you want? That's all we have to do. It doesn't have to be any smarter than that. We don't, there is lots of ways we can complicate it, but as I constantly tell people, to bastardize the phrase about football, copywriting is a simple game made complicated by idiots. Keep it really simple. Solve those problems. We can add complexity. We can add emotional punch. There's plenty of that here, but we got to start there. We've got a very clear set of problems to solve, and we've got to choose the right words to solve those problems. So that's where it starts. And just as a final reminder, someone is going to read your copy. Someone might read it aloud. Somebody else is going to read it in their own head. They're going to see it. They're going to experience it. It's not going out into a vacuum. So every word you choose, you need to keep that in mind. And if you want them to think about they're dying 100 years from now peacefully in a chair, or maybe in a car accident, that's fine. But just think about okay, why am I putting those ideas into this person's head? Is that going to help me solve the problem at hand? So just keep those things in mind. You're not writing in a vacuum. And it's certainly not going out on TV where it's like, I can put it out on TV and maybe someone watches it or maybe they don't. No, it's in their inbox. It's to them. They're going to pick it up. They're going to open the email. They're going to read it. How are they going to experience it? Just keep those absolute basics in mind.
Yeah. I feel like we've got a narrative arc of the episode. I don't want to don't put brackets in too early as well and digress from things. Don't put brackets in too early. You can add complications later, but not the thing. Otherwise, I think we should leave it there. I'm going to go and contemplate my own demise. I recommend you do, Nick. Go and find yourself a nice chair to sit in, and we'll come back next time and see what our thoughts are and whether it's helped us overcome our fears.
Works for me. Right, we'll report back on that next week. Thank you very much, everybody. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's all for this episode, but if you'd like to get your copy reviewed or you've seen some copy you want Nick and Glenn's opinion on, get in touch at feedback@thefix.copywriting.com. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and share.